Hello, I'm your professionally miserable host Winkers, here in the flesh for once to give a patch notes review of the 3.21 Path of Exile Crucible League. Man, kind of camera shy, but for this kind of video, you can tell it helps to have someone who's really there giving you a reaction. So I broke the rule, no cardboard box, actually me talking about the game. You're going to see my reactions as I go over it. I just watched the live stream. Very excited, very, very excited to see how this actually goes. Get into it. Let's start with the Crucible League itself. We're getting a new league that's crafting oriented. Kind of. It's more like you get a new upgrade tree for your weapons that you slowly progress. And the upgrade tree is random. It works like a skill tree, and it can give it huge, impactful benefits. Amazing idea, honestly. Definitely on the power creep side of things, but clearly they gave us a year of hell. let's not beat around the bush. It was a year of hell so that they could give us more of this power creep goodness again. We're on the upswing now, right? It's downhill. We're having fun with it. It looks to me like we're really gonna just get to run around, and they've even thought of like, what if you're not in it for the crafting? Well, there are crafting options that make the item you're working on sell for something crazy like a divine orb. So like they actually kind of covered everything. It's a really good idea. I think we're in like Ritual League territory where you're going to constantly find reasons to create new characters, and it's going to be fun to improve them and reach new levels of strength in ways that we just couldn't before. You know, the way Harvest was in Ritual. But now it's going to be on your weapon, and it's going to work for spellcasters or minion builds or anything. I'm very excited for Dominating Blow. If you've never played Dominating Blow, generally speaking, you can't just make a weapon that's going to be better than your current weapon. It's very rigid in what you can do. At a certain point, the weapon scaling starts to deplete a lot, at least if you do it the way I do it, where you're going for that +3 two-hander. Now I have all sorts of options. It's going to be amazing. I'm excited. Speaking of Dominating Blow, we're getting new Vaal gems. That's right, new Vaal skill gems. And man, Vaal Domination sounds exciting. I'm a little nervous. Are they renaming the entire skill, or is that just the Vaal skill is called that for some reason? We're going to find out. Additionally, we seem to be getting Atlas gateways. These were teased in the live stream. Basically, you can pick a node in your Atlas passive tree and jump to another part of the tree without spending a bunch of travel points to get there. This is really good if you want like a couple things on one side and then a couple things on the other. Before, you had these inherent synergies that kind of made it so that the best way to run a tree involved doing things like, I don't know, just as an example, Blight and Ritual, because they were both on the left side of the tree, and you wouldn't really do maybe Legion or Breach. Now you can. At least now it'll be easier. I don't know that you want to necessarily, but I'm glad, because I think it's going to make it easier to work in Essence with a Breach Abyss themed tree, which we're going to get to that in a bit. Yeah, we're going to get to that in a bit. All right, we have some new skills. These weren't even talked about in the live stream as far as I could tell. Snipe, which Snipe was actually in the game already on a helmet, I believe. Charge up your bow, gain stages, release the trigger once supported bow skill. Okay, yeah, it's actually the full Snipe skill where it will... It's a channel, a charge that fires other skills. It was already in the game. What's there to say? Mana Forged Arrows supports bow attack skills, causing them to trigger when you've spent an amount of total mana on other bow attacks based on the supported skill's mana cost. This is a good idea. Supported skills deal more damage based on their mana cost. Cannot modify the skill's minions. This is awesome. This is... I don't want to call it free damage, but it's damage you work in alongside your primary skill. And I felt like bow builds hurt for this a little bit. This is going to make Mana Leech actually an attractive stat. I think that's really cool. Mana Leech hasn't been something you really go for a while, because back when it was relevant, it was a stat you really wanted on spellcasting builds, where the mana costs were very high. Now you have a reason to have that spell cost high, and that's... Alright, I'm getting more excited. This wasn't in the live stream, so I'm just like, where is this coming from? Why wasn't this talked about? It's amazing. Prismatic Burst supports attacks, causing them to trigger the Prismatic Burst spell. Okay. Cannot support triggered attacks or attacks used by things other than you. That would be things like Frozen Legion or Shockwave. Cannot modify the skill's minions. Prismatic Burst chooses an element at random and deals damage of that type in an area. Having higher strength makes it more likely to choose its particular element. So Strength Fire, Dexterity Cold, Intelligence Lightning. This is good. Hybrid Hybrid attack spellcasting builds are kind of hard to do unless you're specifically doing cast on crit. This is another option. I'm not sure how good it will be. That's the thing. I feel like the numbers on this have to be low. If the numbers are high, this is insane. It will actually just, like, reshape the landscape for things like cast while channeling and cast on critical strike. The way I look at it, you don't necessarily want to use it alongside them, but maybe you do. Depending on how much damage it does, if it synergizes with a spell you're already using in those setups, it might just be better than another support, and that alone could make it a very exciting item. And then we have Momentum. I peeked a little bit because I saw Onslaught mentioned at the top here. Where was it? Here, and I clicked on it. I couldn't help it. I was like, what are they doing to Onslaught? Onslaught as a buff is the same. Onslaught as a support gem is going away. It supports attack skills that aren't triggered. That's kind of a bummer for spellcasters who used Onslaught. Using those skills will grant momentum, which is lost when you move, including teleporting. I feel like they're removing the movement speed option of Onslaught from early on, because if you played the game, it was basically mandatory. The thing is, I kind of wish we kept it mandatory, because I want to move 20% faster for the first 3 acts before I get, like, you know, crazy damage and stuff. It's whatever. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm still going to be fast as hell, probably. Following currencies have a stack size of 20: Orb of Alchemy, Vaal Orb, Chaos Orb, Tainted Chaos Orb, Eldritch Chaos Orb, and Veiled Chaos Orb. This needed to happen. Anyone who's traded in Divines and Chaos Orbs can tell you about it. It's a little overdue, not gonna lie. Also, I wish they would do a little work on the drop rate economy, maybe make Chaos Orbs a little more valuable, or Divine Orbs a little more common. It wouldn't kill the game if Divine Orbs were a bit more common. But then again, Sanctum had a weird economy where if you were doing Sanctum well, you could get tons of them, so it is what it is. Items now persist in a vendor's shop for multiple levels, so that you have a chance to buy them before they vanish. You can now also rarely find rare items at vendors. Okay, they're doing this because at level 50 you can start to find 6 sockets, and they were probably getting sick of people repeatedly checking the shop and, like, having an effect on the economy that way. Like their reasoning, it feels like they're trying to stop people from having such an easy way to maybe get some early Jeweler's Orbs. Because, yeah, at a league start, that's pretty useful to do. Alright, Breach has been reworked. This was talked about a lot in the live stream. More or less, breaches are going to be faster. There's going to be better density. There's only going to be 2 tiers of Breachstone now, and the bottom tier is going to be way up at zone level 81, 82, 83. So that's going to be good. Oh, okay. It That Fled's Betrayal. See, this was something I was wondering about, since there's only 2, and the second tier isn't gotten from It That Fled in Betrayal. That's how you would normally get the higher tiers. They give you map device crafting options. So, like, when you put a league content on your map, but for your Breachstone. And I'm not sure what those are going to be, but that's really cool. This is really interesting. The Otherworldly Artifacts notable now gives rare Breach monsters a chance to drop a Blessing. Was not expecting that. Kind of cool, though. You can actually get a Breach unique and upgrade it without fighting a Breach boss. You can also get a Breach stone and upgrade it without fighting a Breach boss. That's probably going to be pretty good if you're doing Breach. The Within Their Grasp notable passive, though, looks like it's been pretty badly gutted. I don't know exactly what they're thinking, but they've rebalanced the Splinter drop rate, so maybe this makes sense. That seems pretty low, right? I mean, a 1 in 20 chance. This is awful. Hold on. Napkin math. I'll get back to you in a moment. Or, sorry, 1 in 25 Breach bosses drop a Breach stone. 1 in 20 Breach stones is flawless. That's 1 in 500 Breach bosses will give you a flawless Breach stone. Fuck off. Unless you're getting a Breach boss like every map now, that is garbage. This is better Breach content in maps, but Breach stones being more scarce. And I understand that because Breach stones were kind of insanely easy to get. So I'm giving them a pass on that. As long as the stuff in the maps is good, I'm going to be very happy. I'm already planning to do Breach and Abyss because I pretty much always do Breach and Abyss. I love those league mechanics. And I'm going to love them a lot more, I think, hopefully. Oh, and here we are. They've rebalanced the uniques, and they're stronger. Red Nightmare, huge block chance. It was 35% for resistance in the radius. Now it's 50% of the resistance in the radius to block chance. That's a lot. That is a lot of block chance on top of something that just flat out gives you a good damage multiplier. Green Nightmare might actually be insanely good. 70% of chaos resistance in the area giving spell suppression is a big deal, because you can get that on the left side of the tree. And if you can get enough spell suppression on the left side of the tree, you can run spell suppression as a left side tree character, and that's probably the strongest defensive layer in the game for any character that can fit it in. That could be an item. That could be a big goddamn item. Severed in Sleep looks pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. The whole Withered thing stacking with a sort of critical motif is... wow. Poison Minions was already pretty good. I don't know if this is an overall nerf, because honestly, running ailments on minions wasn't something I did a whole lot of. It looks good though. Level 25 envy skill as well. This might be spicy. I'm gonna defer to the experts on that particular build though. That's so much crit multi though. Jeez. The Surrender gives huge life on block. Life on block is a good stat. And that's a huge flat amount. 500 life on block is about 10% for a character with 5,000 life. That's kind of insane. That beats the Shaper mod in most situations. I'm interested to see how that's going to perform. The red trail boots look very interesting. Huge bonuses now to be bleeding. Cannot be stunned, cannot be poisoned. The bleeding sticks around longer. It's still something you have to build around, and it's kind of conditional, which I always shy away from, but at least the life roll on the upgraded version is much better, and the movement speed is no longer conditional, so probably more usable. The baseline effect on this item, I'm gonna look this up just to be sure. Remember, use powiki.net. There we go. Modern red trail, and this has not been removed, but you gain a frenzy charge on hit while bleeding. That's kind of good. That's kind of really, really fucking good, you know? Frenzy charge generation is hard for some builds, and builds that would use these boots usually fall into that. Nutty's Kiss has kind of had its identity altered. Exerted attacks deal 200% increased damage. That's a big number. That's a very large number, especially now that the vulnerability is guaranteed, and the upgraded version just has a flat, non-conditional bleeding infliction chance. Also, Nutty's Kiss is Nutty's Embrace. It just doesn't have the chance to bleed on it. It seems like a lot of these uniques are being changed so that the unupgraded version is still very good and endgame oriented. I like that a lot. Oh, this is a big change. The Formless Inferno unique helmet has been gutted from its original purpose, but the new purpose is very interesting. Minion life is increased by overcapped fire resistance. Is that a flat number? Yeah. Oh, I don't think it matters if it's a flat number or not. It's a way to scale base minion life. That is... wow. Built-in Infernal Legion. This is like popcorn skeletons or something. Built-in popcorn, I don't even know. You can get life on minions very high with this. And if you can get maximum life value... yeah, if you can get maximum life value with just those sockets, we could be looking at a situation where this is like almost a 6-link replacement for some builds. That's pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. If it works. Hallelujah! Zoph's Heart no longer has cover enemies in ash when they hit you as a conditional modifier, but as a nearby enemies are covered in ash modifier. Oh, that's so good. It's hard to let something hit you, right? I mean, if you're playing a melee build that does fire damage and you're fighting a boss, it's like, yeah, okay, it's gonna be there, but now it's just there. All right. I haven't read the wands yet. I hate these damn items. I think they're garbage. The hottest garbage. So I'm expecting something good. Please. Soulborn, so far very good. Oh my goodness. Big flat cold damage, and then a modifier that doesn't exist anywhere. Just a flat extra negative 12% cold res to your cold exposure. Okay, what does the next one do, though? Okay, cast speed? Sure, yeah, great. Cold damage for power charges. They did not remove the mods that alter the way they generate charges. This is a lot. This is a lot. This might have gone from the most irrelevant of the Breachlord items to like the best. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but this seems like it's going to be a tremendous amount of cold damage added to spells, especially if you're running 2 of them. Oh my god. Okay, Snowblind Grace, the baby perfect form, lost its spell suppression. I don't love that, but flat % dexterity and increased Arctic Armor buff effect is cool, especially considering Arctic Armor with the Vaal skill looks like it's going to be really good. Oh, perfect form is 50% spell suppression chance. Holy shit, that's a chess piece. Especially now that you can get a life mastery for your body armor. I'm sure we're going to get to that in a bit. And Halcyon, losing its very small increased cold damage roll for a proliferating freeze effect. Yeah, I'd take that, honestly. I love freeze. I love when it proliferates. It's so much fun to just hit one enemy with a good crit and watch everything around it become immobile. It's good for map survivability, and it can make clearing more satisfying on builds like that than for any other build. The Breachlord Claws now scale very well off of both dexterity and intelligence. That's already kind of a good change. They're going to give you percentage-based increased dexterity intelligence. I'm having a hard time just reading that because like you can dual wield this item. You're going to get good flat lightning damage for 10 dexterity, which it's already more lightning damage for the dexterity than it was before, and you're going to get crit chance for your intel. And recover life on kill, because that's an undervalued stat. I'm just going to come out and say it. And the upgraded version gives you a 1% of attack damage leached as life modifier. Is it going to bring the item back? I don't honestly know. Probably. I'm going to say probably. Stat stacking is already really strong. Giving people a better vehicle for it will always inspire a new build that just melts something. It might be your GPU. Right. So, quick rundown on Abysses. You can now have Stygian Spires spawn in the map, which is neat. And if you get Adepts, it will always go to a Lich. So now when you get to the end of your Abyss, you'll either get a chest or sometimes a Spire. And that Spire will still drop as Stygian Vice as normal. Good stuff. It seems like they're trying to give us less Abyssal Depths. Because, as Chris Wilson pointed out well in the live stream, a lot of people feel the need to skip Adepts unless it has a Lich in it. So yeah, I think that's a good change. We're going to get the same amount of Liches, they say. Hopefully. I'm going to read through the passes real quick just to make sure nothing has changed on that front. Abysses look intact. Let's get to the unique items, starting with Shroud of the Lightless. This is probably one of the more iconic items in the game, especially if you've played a lot of Abyss. I'm kind of nervous about it because it's like a 6-link that only requires 5 gems, and then you get an Abyssal Jewel, and you can do a lot with an Abyssal Jewel. So what is it going to do now? And it still gives you the elemental penetration support. Oh no, it doesn't. It's gone. Now it has 3% increased maximum life per... Okay, that's a lot of life. That's a lot of mana. Ah. Inherent elemental resistance penetration for Abyssal Jewels. And you can get up to 3 Abyssal... Okay, so this is no longer a 6-link option. This is a chest piece that you wear when you're stacking Abyssal Jewels to make the 6-link in your weapon much stronger. Okay. Yeah, that's going to be pretty strong. It's going to give... It's going to be like a Belly of the Beast that gives you damage. And whatever stats you have on the Abyssal Gem. So it's Abyssal Gem, Abyssal Jewel. It's going to be very strong. Guaranteed. I think it might... I'm not going to say I think it might. It's going to be better than the current one. It might be used in different builds, but it's going to be better. Tomb Fist now has random modifiers, and they don't tell us what they are. So the variance on a good Tomb Fist just went way up. I'm interested. I'm a little annoyed that it can still spawn with either 1 or 2 Abyssal Jewel sockets. I'd rather it would always spawn with 2. I hate finding 1 socket Tomb Fists, because that's just like, what the hell am I going to do with that garbage? Ah, whatever. I've never found the 2 socket Tomb Fist. My buddy found 3 in one league, and I can't find one of the damn things. Light Poacher has been buffed slightly. I think it's still going to be the black sheep of the game. It doesn't look like they've really done anything to make using it fun, because the reason it was good when it was good is because you could just blow up the screen with it, right? It could be a primary vehicle for clearing, and it can't still. Oh my god, Darkness Enthroned can go up to 100% increased effective socketed Abyss Jewels! Every time I see a buff that indirectly affects Phasebreaker, I get very excited, and Darkness Enthroned was good for that. So I'm kind of hopeful Kind of hopeful there's a little bit more around because it's so much fun to punch things. But that belt is already really good. Having a belt that gives you four abyssal jewels is a big deal, right? Because you get, what is it, the 35 HP roll? That's 140 life total. That is, you have to roll 2 abyssal jewels with that, but that is the value of your leather belt. And then you can get damage stats. Very possible it's top tier if you can get the jewels for it. Well, I shouldn't say that Mage Blood's in the game, but I mean, outside of, the paupers like us, it could be top tier. If you can afford a Mage Blood, go fuck yourself. I hate you. No, I won't apologize. Very interesting. Bubonic Trail unique boots now gives you benefits based on if you have a certain type of abyssal jewel socketed, specifically magic, rare, and unique. 60% reduced duration of elemental ailments is a lot. Probably enough so that if you were to use these boots, you can get that down to 100 pretty easily. It's the second best way to fix your elemental ailments. I think avoidance is better because avoidance can like flat out just ignore it no matter what. Technically, you could get increased duration modifiers working against you, which is unfortunate, but it is a way to fix it. And then for a unique one, you get reservation efficiency, which is an amazing stat. Tekrod's Gaze actually has competitive numbers now. 200% main hand critical strike chance is good. If you're dual wielding and you get the 100% critical strike multi on your offhand, I feel like this was designed for the savior. Just gonna come out and say it. You have your amazing damaging offhand, and then you need your main hand to be critical striking for some reason, and it's just like, there you go. Go crazy. This is actually a pretty important change. Grinding Gear Games has always been pretty careful about not overloading the player with chaos damage, and very slowly over years now, they've been introducing more and more of it into the game to make chaos resistance a more desirable stat, not just something that you use for niche scenarios. Officially, monsters deal physical damage or extra physical damage as chaos is in the game. And on top of that, inflict withered for 2 seconds on hit is coming with that. And let's just say that negative 60% chaos res is going to hurt. Don't do that. Get some, right? Get to 0%. That's going to be a new thing you have to do. If you've been shirking that, you're going to see a lot of instant rips in tier 16s if you roll that mod and just assume it'll be fine. Oh boy. We have a lot of masteries here. I'm going to go through and pick out some juicy ones to talk about because I could talk all day about this stuff. Oh, and here we are. +1 to all maximum resistances if equipped helmet, body armor, gloves, and boots all have armor. That's good. It's very good because, quite frankly, left side of the tree has some issues with spells. It does. Spells do too much damage. They're kind of balanced around you having a 50% less damage taken multiplier, so we need more options, and this is a good one. Probably mandatory if you're playing an armor build. Wow. Recover 5% of energy shield over 1 second when you take physical damage from an enemy hit. That seems really good. That's like 1 node, and on the right build, you're immortal to standard auto attacks in mapping. That could be huge. 10% of armor also applies to chaos damage taken from hits. Oh man, armor and energy shield's looking kind of sick all of a sudden. What? And then 10% of physical damage from hits taken as chaos damage. Better than it looks. This allows you to let some of the damage through your energy shield so it doesn't all deplete instantly. 100% increased armor and energy shield from... Oh, wow. So if you run armor ES gear, and you've got them in every slot that's relevant, you can get 100% increased armor and energy shield from your body armor, and then also +1 all max res. It's looking pretty good. That's all I'm going to say. You know, the options for defending yourself they're going up. I'm going to be honest. The attack masteries aren't that exciting. What's important is that the strike skills target 1 additional nearby enemy is still there. Because, yeah. And more importantly is that there is an attack mastery near Templar now, which you didn't have before. And that's kind of a problem because, you start with Glacial Hammer and you're the worst class to have Glacial Hammer. Not anymore. You can actually make use of a strike skill now. Caster Mastery, 25% more spell damage if you've been stunned while casting recently. Is there a way to be stunned without actually being interrupted? That sounds like a ridiculous statement, but if you're unaffected by stun... I believe if you block a hit that would stun you, it still counts as being stunned. Even though it doesn't. So maybe there's a way to abuse that for some damage in a scenario. I'm not sure. If there is, someone will figure it out. 25% chance to open nearby chests when you cast a spell. What the fuck? Why would you give that to spellcasters? And they've got enough. They don't need it. Give that whatever. I'm actually kind of mad about that one. I'm not gonna lie. Recover 1% of life per withered debuff on each enemy you kill. That's an occultist buff, at least for life based. That's some severe recover life on kill in maps. 5% chance when you inflict withered to inflict up to 15 withered debuffs instead. I'm really trying to think about how good that is, because that's such an extreme effect. It's not good for occultist, I don't think. It's fine for occultist. I don't know that you would take it, because unless you get really far from the boss, you're going to sack up to 15 all the time regardless. But if you're using a totem to apply withered, this is actually a big deal. Huh. 10% of leeches instant for equipped claw. That's really good. I don't need to tell you why. No, okay. If you don't know, instant leech is insanely good for just recovery and staying alive. That's inherent attack speed bonus from dual wielding is doubled while okay. Claws are still good. Claws are better, in fact. The Nightblade elusive effect is still there. You know what this tells me, actually? This tells me that GGG saw that removing some of the Nightblade mechanics wasn't a good idea, even though they had to, because, you know, Melee's not in the best state. And they're kind of like, all right, let's give them some back now. So, yeah, okay. You know what? This is all fine. I mean, I didn't think there's anything wrong with it before, but yeah, I mean, this is a lot of strong modifiers. You're going to want... I feel like I would take almost all of them. Maybe not the damage on low life, because I don't like being on low life, but I do know there's a way to build low life with a certain jewel that reserves life when you take damage instead. That would make that a pretty good node. Percent chance to inflict cold exposure as a mastery. Well, that's nice. Enemies permanently take increased damage for each second they've ever been frozen by you, up to a maximum of 50%. That's really good. I don't need to tell you why. Obviously, it stacks additively with Bone Chill, but 50% is a lot. And you can freeze bosses. They have like an action speed minimum, so they don't stop moving, but you can actually freeze them. Wow. Cold Reap wasn't good enough, I guess. Elemental Mastery, 50% reduced effect of exposure on you. That's pretty good. I don't think it's terribly relevant, though. That's a pretty deep calculation to do about like what you need your resistances to be at. I think you just get enough resistance and don't worry about it. Critical strikes against you do not inherently inflict elemental ailments. Very good, actually. A super crit map is pretty scary because things like shock and freeze will just kind of happen. Now they won't. That's nice. That's very nice. I want to say most of the ailments you experience in general mapping come from critical hits. So now that they're not coming from critical hits, you're probably going to feel a lot more comfortable. I think this is going to be like a node that people really like on hardcore, because it just reduces the random scenarios where you take huge amounts of damage. All right, 15% chance to suppress spell damage if equipped helmet, body armor, gloves, and boots all have evasion rating. Yeah, I mean, fantastic, right? It's one skill point for a ton of spell suppression, assuming you have the appropriate gear, which if you're running spell suppression, yeah, you probably do, because you're trying to get it on every piece, so you need as little spell suppression from the tree as possible. Evasion and Energy Shield Mastery gives you 20% increased maximum energy shield if both equipped rings have evasion modifiers. That's fantastic. I don't want to say why, because I feel like it's pretty obvious, but this is just like stats somewhere that it's not supposed to be. Every 4 seconds, regenerate energy shield equal to 1% of evasion rating over 1 second. That's a powerful defensive layer for a Dream Feather, if I'm thinking about this correctly. There's a build there. Regenerates 1%, regenerates 1 life per second for each 1% uncapped fire resist. That's really good. It might sound maybe not that good, but if you consider that you're probably going to have at least 130%, somewhere around their fire res, that's 130 life regenerated per second for 1 skill point. That's enough life to be worthwhile in a lot of builds. And then if you're playing a chieftain, I mean, you're definitely taking it. That's real good. Am I reading this wrong, or is this actually saying 100% increased damage for a single skill point? You just have to ignite the end. That's not that hard to do. That's a huge node. What the hell, dude? Fire Masteries are looking amazing. Like, that node is so good that if you can find a way to ignite consistently without a critical strike, you should probably take it, even if you're... Like, I could see an Elementalist taking a Fire Wheel just to get this point, because it's 100% damage, right? If it's cost effective and they get something else on the side, this is awesome. Wow. I was really hoping Fortify would show me something that, like, kind of made me excited about the idea of running Fortify again. But aside from gaining max Fortification, well, not max, but 20 when you melee kill a rare unique enemy, it still just doesn't really do it, you know? There's still the issue inherently that when you need this fortification most is in the hardest content, and that's when Fortify becomes unreliable. They can't fix that. So Fortify is just kind of such a weird stat, right? I will always try to find a way to build without it, is the thing. And they haven't changed that here. Wow, Impale's kind of exciting. 10% chance on hitting an enemy for all impales on that enemy to last an additional hit. And then 20% chance to just dump them, basically. I don't think you want to dump them if you're doing single target, but I mean, the 10% one is basically 10% more damage with Impale once you spun up. So that's really cool. We saw this in the live stream, but I still can't believe it's there. If your build gets enough damage, 10% is all you need. That's instant leech. Just right there. It's yours, you got it. Think about how hard they guarded instant leech after the Vaal Pact changes, and now you can have it without Vaal Pact. This is really insane. People who super juice their builds and get even a little bit of leech are going to just be absolutely nuts now. Oh my goodness. And then additionally, 25% more damage with hits against enemies that cannot have life leech from them. This is a big deal, because if you've ever played a Slayer, these enemies are a huge issue. This helps with them. This is like covering up one of your weaknesses. Wait, what is this? 25% of damage taken recouped as life if leech was removed by filling unreserved life recently. Wow. That's 25% recoup. Just like for anyone who leeches, basically. I mean, the only exception is you can't have overleech, right? But if you have 25% recoup, you probably don't need overleech. That's really good. Wow. And then 25% maximum for all the leech types as well. There's a lot of good stuff here. Leech is probably much stronger than it was before overall. Like for everyone is actually what's very impressive. Oh, here we go. The life masteries. The only life mastery that stuck around is plus 50 to maximum life, which I honestly thought would be the one they'd get rid of. So I kind of love their direction on this. If you have all of the masteries located, 10% more life. Very good. 15% increased maximum life if there are no life modifiers on equipped body armor. Probably one of the best nodes they've ever designed, because there is a huge issue in the game where if your body armor does not have life, it's a huge loss, and now it's not, especially if you take both those masteries. That probably covers it. There might even be a meta on our hands here where it's optimal to not have life on your body armor, and that could actually affect certain body armors that are unique and kind of take them down a peg in a big way. I do have to say, there was really only a couple of life masteries that I actually liked before, and this is a big improvement. Skills cost life instead of 30% of mana cost. I'm not sure what that... I feel like we're missing some text here. I think it's supposed to say skills cost life at like 300% of mana cost, because I think that's how life tap works. But I mean, life tap without having to run the support is possibly the biggest one on this list. I'm not going to lie. A lot of builds fix their mana by running life tap. There's 4 new masteries for link skills. Okay, good. The mana masteries that I care about are still here. I actually use these a lot in certain builds, because there's a few ways to run a ton of mana consumption on a character and make it do good things for you. And they didn't get rid of any of them, so I appreciate that. Also, mana reservation efficiency is a mana mastery now. It's back. That's a big deal. That's pretty exciting. I really hated losing that. This makes running a character that uses mana way more attractive, honestly, because that's such a big stat to get. Oh, here we go. Marked enemy cannot regenerate life. Marks are good. Marks are good for bosses. Marks are better for bosses when they keep the Maven from healing them. So, get excited because it's going to get weird. And by weird, I mean fun. Marked enemy cannot deal critical strikes. Wait, hold on. Your mark transfers to another enemy when marked enemy dies. It doesn't say nearby. That's an interesting concept. Yeah, I mean, these are great. The masteries for marks are really good. Okay. 10% more maximum physical attack damage. It's not very often that you see a number put in front of you and you're just like, that's really good. It's like, it's too good, right? Don't help them. That's really fantastic. Oh my goodness. It's more damage for physical builds, but in a way that will directly benefit certain physical builds more without actually affecting any physical build less. It's just so good. Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? It's really good. Protection masteries, previously resistance and ailment protection. Okay, I'm excited. Your elemental resistances cannot be lowered by curses. Oh my god, the need for curse reduction is gone. You can just take this and then suffer from vulnerability and other things, but at least your resistances won't kneecap you. That's really good. Actually, I said something about an exposure note earlier, about it being 50% as effective. That is a good note if you're running this. You're going to get slapped by curses pretty good, like the actual increased damage taken values on some of them, but at least you're not going to die from having low resistances. So build character options are increasing. That's the nicest thing I can say about a patch note, and it's happening. Damaging ailments cannot be inflicted on you while you already have one. Non-damaging ailments cannot be inflicted on you while you already have one. Alright, I might be reading this wrong, but I'm pretty sure this says that if you have one stack of poison, you can't get more stacks of poison. That on its own is really good. If you are self-chill or self-shock, you have you have non-damaging ailment immunity. What do you think about that? Yeah, that sounds pretty good, right? I don't know that those builds even needed a buff, but I'm glad they're getting support because I want them to be good. My goodness. 3% chance to recover all life when you kill an enemy. I don't think that's very good, but it is fun to read. Not gonna lie. Life recruit effects over 3 seconds. Okay, this hasn't really changed very much. These all used to be on the game, or in the game. I think they've just been moved here. Wait, no, hold on. Maybe these weren't in the game. Hold on, I think these are all new. I know the life recoup effects existed somewhere else in a similar form. Every 3 seconds. Wow, hold on, these are very good. Yeah, this used to be a life mastery, or something like it. So, hold on, this is interesting. This changes your regeneration to come in bursts. This is a times... Wait, what? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Is this not like 10 times the regeneration, except you get it every 4 seconds instead? It's not hard to have that refill your entire life pool, and if you can find a way to survive for 4 seconds against any opponent in the game, you're basically immortal at that point. That's wild. Reservation masteries. Oh, +1 to all maximum elemental resistances if you have reserved life and mana. That's not hard to do. It is not hard to reserve a tiny bit of life with like a low level vitality or something, or a stance skill. I think in many scenarios, if you can reserve a small enough value of life, this is a survivability gain. Or as from your skills of 10% increased effect on you, still there. That's probably all that really mattered. Very good. This is interesting. I like that it's not black and white how good that's going to be, but I assume it's going to be good. Oh, I did not notice this. The masteries for determination and grace and the like that increased your mana reservation efficiency are gone. Oh boy. That is a big deal. That is a very big deal. We did get many things to compensate that are quite good, but I want to say pushing to higher level maps early is probably going to feel a little bit worse, because it's going to be harder to fix your auras that give you those defensive stats, and without that armor or evasion, you might get clapped a little more easily than you're used to. So we're going to see about that. Definitely, if I were playing hardcore this league, I'd take it a little slower on getting to the top. Maybe let someone else get there first and see what they do. Never be the first guy into that new tier unless you're on a very tanky character, because that's a bit scary. Okay, the new Righteous Fury cluster for Templar seems like a pretty lukewarm cluster. I'm not gonna lie. It gives you damage and a chance to create Consecrated Ground on melee kill. That's not good. I'm gonna be honest. That's really bad. That's really bad. If it's not point efficient, then taking it early on for the +1 strike is probably nice while you're leveling, but you're definitely going to get +1 strike somewhere else and then spec out of this, which is fine. That's really all that I wanted it for. That's like, all right, cool. I can cover Ancestral Call with that now. But I was really hoping it would give minion damage. That's what I was really hoping for. Damn. That's the way it goes, though. It is important to note that the multi-shot cluster is great. Attacks, fire, and additional projectile is... Get excited, especially if you're playing that build. That is... Holy cow, dude. Oh my god, and Master Fletcher now has bow attacks, fire, and additional arrow. You can get +2 projectiles for bow attacks on the passive tree in the ranger area. That was an ascendancy noticeable. That was an ascendancy notable. I can't even talk, I'm so flustered. How? Dude! Did they remove Tornado Shot from the game? I guess we're gonna see, right? Jeez. Cold clusters haven't changed a whole lot. They've gotten some new ones that are probably nice if you're running cold, just because there wasn't a lot of cold clusters on the tree. You can get another 10% increased damage taken with Chill from Glacial Cage right here. I like that. I do. It's quite good. The only issue is you have a lot of increased damage taken going on in cold baseline, so that's not as good a number as it looks like. The most interesting thing about the Link clusters, because Links are garbage, is that Zealot's Oath got moved closer to the Templar starting location. So thanks, Links. Not going to talk about... I haven't even read the rest of it. That's how confident I am that there's nothing there to be interested in. I don't like Link skills. I think they should remove the Link clusters and put in channeling clusters, because I actually liked those, and now they're gone for some. I thought we were going to get them back when they announced all this, but no. Channeling skills don't exist, except for Snipe, which just got added. So we got a notable that gives us 20% increased effective marks, but small passives that gave 10% increased effective marks have been changed to be not as good. So, I mean, marks are better overall, and I think you can be more point efficient because of this. But I was kind of excited when I saw this at first, because I thought, wow, there's a lot of increased mark effect on the tree now, but not actually. It's fine. Marks are going to be probably really good now, especially if you're using that like to augment single target, which I don't know. This is a little weird to me. I was kind of excited about that idea because these nodes were very, very efficient, and they really gave you a reason to play marks if you could get to them well. And now it's like, they're gone. They give you flash charges now. Whatever. Poisons got nerfed slightly in the duration scaling department. I'm not terribly surprised by this because getting a lot of poison duration was really broken. Is too good of a scaling lever, right? And it's not a lot. I'm actually surprised they didn't get more. Well, so I think they lost a potential 20% duration, which there's still a lot of duration out there, so they're not hurting too bad for that. A new surge of... What? This is better than it looks, because if you are playing a Guardian, say on a Dominating Blow character, that's really good. Wow. It's very easy to stack some stuff going on there now. I'm wondering if that's going to be a... I wonder if that's going to be a, like, maximum life from that cluster, because that would make it, like, really good, or if it's going to be more additional, like, regenerate life effects. I'm really interested to see what that is, but we don't have the tree yet. Man, that's interesting. Wow. That's probably an auto take for me now, because it's more defense, and it's much easier for me to build defense on a Dominating Blow character than it is for me to build damage. That's why I kind of like it, but there's another damage taken recouped as life cluster that also gives life gain on hit per attack. Not that the life gain on hit per attack is terribly exciting, but more recoup is very interesting because we're starting to get to some pretty silly numbers for recoup where, like, if it doesn't kill you right away, it doesn't kill you. And I'm kind of excited about that. I really hate that there's not a ton of options at the top side of the tree for powerful regeneration or leech. And Recoup has been fun. I've always felt like I needed a little bit more, though, and now it's there, so. The Devotion notable passive skill no longer provides 5% increased effect of non-curse auras from your skills. Oh no. It instead now provides 25% increased effect of consecrated ground you create. If you don't know why that's exciting, there are consecrated ground effects that increase the damage enemies take. There are consecrated ground effects that reduce the effect of curses on you, that give you inherent crit chance, and this will interact with all of them. That's really good for Devotion. Holy cow, that's a node. A new Dance of Blades cluster has been added to the southeast of the Duelist starting location. Grants, you have Onslaught if you've changed stance recently. Alright, that's really good. Stance changing wasn't really rewarding before. It can be now. I do worry, though, like, actually from a legal standpoint, that this is going to induce a repetitive stress injury in someone, so I think GGG should actually rethink this. That's a powerful effect. People are going to want to use it. They're going to hurt their wrists. This was a bad idea. This was good intentions, bad idea. Seems like for Warcries, you can get more cooldown recovery rate than you used to. You lost one notable with it, but some of the small notables got big numbers, and the quality values have been increased. So using Warcries more often might be more doable. Is that enough to help the archetype? Probably. It's not my favorite right now, I'll say that much. Every time I try to brew it up, the damage values just don't hit right. This should be good enough. One of the biggest issues with Warcries is it leans into the you have no attack speed thing. And it's like, this gives you a room for a bit more attack speed, which is a very large increase to your damage over an extended period of time. Right, so Saboteur and Pathfinder have been changed extensively. We saw this in the live stream. Saboteur is still your trap and mine tree, of course, but now we have some passives that give it more identity elsewhere. Believe it or not, Assassin is probably dethroned as the cast on crit king, because 30% increased cooldown recovery rate is ginormous. Yeah, that's a lot. Also, the small passives before it give you movement speed, which just like lends itself to playing a Cyclone cast on critical strike. Saboteur is going to be fun. A lot of fun. It actually has some really, really great defensive benefits going on already, and now you get to combine them with not having to throw traps and mines, which I don't want to be a hater, but I hate traps and mines a lot. I'm so glad, man, that I have a reason to play that Ascendancy without having to do that stuff. Pathfinder got some changes, and I don't know that I like them. I really liked the Chaos Attack identity of Pathfinder, and they replaced all of the benefits that you got there with a 25% chance to inflict Withered for 2 seconds on hit, and then also 50% increased effective Withered. I would honestly much rather you just got Withered inflicted on hit. I don't think 25% is enough. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not, considering you need 15 stacks for full effect. In place of that, you lost area of effect and physical damage conversion, which the damage conversion wasn't as important because you could get that from masteries now. I don't know, man. I'm probably overreacting. I bet it's fine. Master Surgeon has been changed. It's now the Enduring mod for mana flasks, but on your life flasks. Really good. Insanely, fantastically good. I'm interested to see exactly how that's going to work, because I keep saying it's really good, but also life flasks have a very short duration. So I'm not 1000% on it, but like you can use it preemptively. Yeah, I like that a lot, not gonna lie. That's pretty good, especially considering you're always going to have charges on a Pathfinder. Oh, I might be wrong. They gutted Nature's Boon. Man, what are they doing with this? Flasks gaining 3 charges every 3 seconds was like the core of the Pathfinder identity for me. It was just the ability to always have your flasks going, and that's gone now. So like Mage Blood at home probably doesn't work anymore. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's on Nature's Adrenaline now. They're fine. Oh, I got worried for a second. Okay, that's great. It also gives magic utility flasks applied to you have 30% increased effect, which is a lot. That is not a small amount of buffs going on. And then Master Alchemist gives you 50% chance for flasks used not to compete. Wow. Okay, Mage Blood at home probably got stronger, I'm gonna be honest. And then Veteran Bowyer became something much more interesting. It's now basically the effects of a flask skill, but on any skill. If you have a diamond, bismuth, or amethyst flask. So like crit chance, elemental penetration, fizz as extra chaos. 25%, that's a lot, dude. That's like I'm gonna make a Viper Strike character this league, even though I know I shouldn't. Ascendant Saboteur changes are kind of interesting to me. I'm kind of like that they moved away from the identity of traps and mines, but not really, because you don't have a lot of options for traps and mines, even if I don't play them. And it was nice to have that core identity as part of Ascendant, so that it was another option. And now they're going this direction with the, I don't know, this is, what is this, 7.5% more damage, and then also some cooldown recovery rate, which, yeah, this is good, but I don't know that from a design perspective this is the best idea, because you want this stat available on another class. Oh my god, the large chest on Twilight Strand now contains prismatic support. What? That's a level 1 support gem. That's awesome, dude. What? You can get that at level 1? Mana Forged Arrows is early too. Man, a lot of classes are going to level faster early. This is like a lot of free damage going on. Oh, and the combat focus jewels work with prismatic burst, so you can control the outcome. That's very powerful. There's some stuff here, like some good stuff. Melee Splash got buffed. Yeah, that's fantastic. Honestly, I love that a lot. Melee Splash was, I mean, it was already good. It looks like they're trying to get it more in line with Awaken Melee Splash, which you really feel Awaken Melee Splash. So the fact that you're getting that damage reduction baked in right from the base gem is very good. Very, very good. You're going to feel much stronger early with a skill that relies on Melee Splash. I don't know the exact numbers on Explosive Trap, but I'm pretty sure this line of text says Explosive Trap does like twice as much damage. Probably not exactly twice as much, but like there's a big more multiplier extrapolated from that. Gonna have to tell Nino. Spectral Throw got buffed. The multi-hit potential was increased by about 25%. Ask Mathel what that means. I mean, I don't know if he's the best guy to ask for it, but I know he knows a lot about the mechanics of Spectral Throw and how to make it do tons of damage. If that results in an additional hit or two each time you throw it under the right circumstances, a skill that could already do hilarious amounts of damage just got even more absurd. People sleep on that skill because they don't really understand how it works, but man, all right, Mathel's gonna make a build about it this league to test that out, and I'm sure he's gonna obliterate an Uber boss in like 2 seconds, and we'll all talk about it. Ooh, I almost missed this. The base projectile speed of Spark has been reduced, and they did not say how. Be afraid. Be afraid. That's a pretty big deal. If they're not going to say how much, that means that only the people who really understand how that skill works are going to know how bad the damage is, and I get the feeling it's going to be pretty significant, because Spark has been very powerful for a long time. And unfortunately, Grinding Gear Games has this thing about them where if a skill requires a low level is good, they will kneecap it at some point. I don't know why. That's probably what's happened here. We're probably going to get some weird level 28 version of Spark that's needlessly complicated in its place. I hope not. I'm saying this now, though, so that I can talk shit about them later if they actually do that. I hope it's still good, because it's a fun skill. It's iconic. Faster Attacks comes out earlier. That's good, honestly. Getting Faster Attacks in Act 2 always felt kind of weird, but early on, it's a much better support gem. Much more compelling to use. We're getting marks at level 4. That's pretty good. We're getting other marks at higher levels, but all the same, that's pretty good. Those are now the earliest offered curses in the game, which means everyone's going to be using them for a little while, and they're going to make killing bosses like Act bosses or the Weaver in Act 2 much easier. Actually, the Weaver in Act 2 is probably the best example, because in some events, that boss kills people, like a lot of people. Wands are getting new implicit modifiers of flat added damage to spells. Not all of them. I do like the variety. Good. Oh, it's flat elemental damage to spells and attacks. That's actually very good. Wow. Okay. Demon's Horn, though. Hold on, did they move? Okay, they moved Obliteration. You're fine. Calm down. That's very interesting, though. Because the high level bases have a pretty decent value, and sometimes flat damage to spells is just better, you know? It also lets you apply the damage as different elements, which gives more reason for you to use various bases. So I kind of actually love this change a whole lot. They changed Arcane Surge again. I hate that they keep doing this. Oh. Cast speed, though. Okay, never mind. I don't hate it. That's fine. I think this is a buff. Yeah. Wow, okay. Sure, why not? Probably not as strong at the top end, but with the loss of Onslaught, this is going to be felt a lot for anyone casting spells early on. And they compensated Hierophant as well. I was kind of worried about that immediately when I read this, but no, now Arcane Surge just grants you an additional 20% more spell damage. That's really good if the 20% is a separate buff from the baseline 25%. But I mean, either way, it's still it's a fine enough damage buff. Oh, Molten Shell and Vaal Molten Shell have been nerfed. That's a bit concerning. I don't think it's been nerfed enough to affect at least me terribly much. 5,000 and 10,000 additional life is still very strong. But I hope they tested that one considerably, because those are important buffs. They give you the ability to wade into a fight on a build that needs that ability, and if they just remove that from certain builds, those builds are not going to be very playable anymore. Like, fundamentally. So yeah, we're going to see about that. that could result in a mid-league change. Honestly, if enough people start builds that rely on Molten Shell to do that specific job, we could, dude, honestly, like, and also that race for Ruthless Solo Self on Hardcore, Molten Shell not being as good is a huge deal there. They're gonna have to think about that one. Oh man, I would not be surprised if that changes before stuff goes live, because it's like, left side of the tree doesn't need a survivability drop running your games. Any triggered skills and items that come from a skill gem, such as Rain of Arrows from Lionized Paws, now share the same cooldown group. So using the gem version of the skill should put the triggered version on cooldown, or vice versa. I feel like mentioning Lionized Paws is a red herring, and there's an interaction I'm not thinking about here. Power charges, once again, provide 50% increased critical strike chance per power charge. What? They nerfed that and they brought it back. That's sure. And they nerfed the corruption notable passive skill. Fine, I guess. I understand it was too strong, but man, a lot of builds factored that into their damage calculation very severely, and now 15% of it is gone. So I'm a little bit anxious about that one. I mean, it's a small damage nerf. Most builds probably aren't going to suffer too much from that. Withering Step is now able to be supported by Spell Totem. If you run that with multiple totems, do the Wither procs add up altogether? I actually don't know. I'll go look that up. We're going on an adventure. Inflicts 4 to 6 Wither debuffs the first time each enemy enters the area. That doesn't answer my question, because if you have separate individual instances of Withering Step, can each one apply 4 to 6 Wither debuffs? Because with multiple totems, that means you could stack up Withered on a guy like instantly. Cool. I'm assuming it doesn't work in the way that's good for me. That's the safe thing to do in most scenarios, but it's going to have to be checked. Because the wording technically could work out in our favor. That doesn't mean it will. Bow attacks, fire an additional arrow senses we can no longer put. That's not really a big deal because you get it on the passive tree now. Wait, what? Book of Regression is gone. What was leveling down doing that they couldn't allow? I'm kind of annoyed by that. Very strange. Maybe they thought it just didn't have a use, but like there were fringe uses for that item. That's weird. Oh, the unique item drop chances for Katarina have been rebalanced. That means Devouring Diadem is a rare item now. Sorry. Burak League mods. Alright, this is important. Abyss is cheap. I like that because I like Abyss. Essence is still there. Very important. Ambush, Heist? Yeah, okay, that can be... Expedition, Harvest. I like that there are a lot of options that are more expensive than Fortune Favors the Brave. That's pretty interesting. That might Fortune Favors the Brave might be a little bit meta, because there's like at least 3 options there that are really good. And I feel like they balance that by putting Metamorph in, because it's like the landmine, you know? You hit the Metamorph and you're like, shit. But if you're spec'd for Heist, just the Smuggler's Cachets giving you blueprints can be worth a lot of money. So there's a bit of a slot machine going on here that seems a bit more refined than past leagues. Looking through the bug fixes, I'm not seeing a ton of changes here that are like huge. I might be missing something, because it's very easy for a bug fix to actually have incredible impact on the game going forward, but it looks like this is all minor stuff that really probably wasn't affecting anyone in a negative way, or positive way rather. Yeah, just looks like standard stuff. So, what did I think of the patch notes? Good question. The league looks really cool. The mechanic is going to be fantastic. We're going to get the ability to modify weapons in a way we never have before. And that's so Path of Exile, it's almost boring to say. But the truth is, this is probably going to open up builds in a way that is reminiscent of Ritual League. We're going to see people getting things that encourage them to go again. And that's kind of something that the game is, well, it's something that the game has when it's at its best. So I'm very optimistic for Crucible. I think the patch notes are great. I didn't see anything get nuked from orbit, unless Spark got nuked from orbit. I'm really shocked, actually. Maybe I missed it, but I didn't come across any curse changes that made blasting people with Impending Doom. Yeah, Impending Doom doesn't even come up. Yeah, it's not talked about at all. So that build survives somehow. That's a good one to start for, probably, because that clears fast, and you really just need like 1 unique. Did they maybe? Nope. didn't even mention the gloves that you need for it. I don't know. They seem to be very careful about nerfing things right now. And I think this is deliberate. They're going to let the game be more fun than they're comfortable with leading up to ExileCon. Yeah, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a good one. I think this is going to be one of the ones you don't want to miss. I'm very excited to see what the cast on crit and other triggered meta becomes with Saboteur the way it is. I'm interested to see how Prismatic Burst comes into play, because that's just such a weird thing to have. Like, I'm shocked that is allowed to exist, but Battle Mage's Cry is still garbage. At least the trigger portion of it. Obviously, the changes to the Atlas passive tree are really good. We're going to be able to mix and match in a way that wasn't available before. The new skill gems look great. There's, like, nothing overtly new. Some of it is stuff we already had in the form of a skill on an item. Some of it is brand new, and it's trigger-based, right? And trigger-based like that is good, because I like the concept of a skill like Tornado as like supplemental to your damage, but there was a time in Poe when those didn't exist and you could really just go, and if you build around those triggers, you can go, right? You just go. And Prismatic Burst and Mana Surge Arrow, I think it was, I don't remember, it was great. I think in general, masteries are going to be in a much more compelling place. The game looks like it's going to reward you for really looking at your masteries and making decisions in the moment, right, for a short period of time, and then optimizing. And then obviously when you get further into the game, you're going to cover stuff with gear, and things like masteries are going to become more locked in. But even some of the top end game decisions for masteries are much better than they used to be. And yeah, I really have not much else to say, except I'm kind of sad Onslaught's gone for early leveling. And please give Vaal Domination. I need to know what that does, because I have to set up a Dominating Blow build guide, which will be on the channel hopefully within the next couple days for you to look at if you're interested in playing a melee character that doesn't suffer early on for lack of gear. I'm your professionally miserable host, Winkers. This has been my 3.21 Crucible patch notes review and my debut on a webcam. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you came away with a little bit more insight on what to expect for the league, because this is going to be a good one. I think no matter what, because of the state of the game and the lack of severe enemy rebalance, we're guaranteed to have a good time, because Sanctum was good. And this just seems to have done a better job enriching the game and our options. Yeah, I'm confident. 9 out of 10.